Hallo und herzlich willkommen. Mein Name ist Tim Senger und ich begrüße dich zu einer neuen Folge des Investor Stories Podcast. Erfahre von anderen Investoren, wie sie gestartet sind und welche Erfahrungen sie auf ihrem bisherigen Weg gemacht haben. Lass dich von ihren Geschichten, Strategien und Vorgehen inspirieren und schreibe deine eigene Investor Story. Hello and welcome back to the Investor Stories podcast, and you immediately recognize it by me speaking English. Today we have another international guest on the podcast. Very happy to introduce Carles, and we are going to dive back into the private lending space. Carles, nice to meet you. Welcome on the podcast.
Hi, Tim. Thank you. Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, you're in the private lending space. I already mentioned. Maybe a short introduction about yourself and the company you're working at.
Yeah, well, about myself, I'm a Spaniard. At the same time, I've been working internationally for a few years, and right now I'm the CEO of Lendermarket, which is a platform dedicated to P2P lending. Investing in P2P lending, and that's what we're going to be talking about a bit later, I guess.
Yes, for sure. It's called Lendermarket, and Lendermarket is one of the platforms that has now already been around for quite some time. And P2P lending, a topic my listener know quite well. You basically lend to other people. That was the peer-to-peer is coming from. It's evolved ever since, lending basically to businesses as well, and all sorts of credit stuff. And that's maybe a good entry point. What kind of loans or investments are you offering on Lendermarket?
So Lendermarket has been evolving. We started with very short-term loans. It was usually like 30-day loans, 60-day loans. But now lately we have chosen a path to have more of a security towards the investor by offering a bit longer loans. If you think about an investment also, the 30-day loan is not really giving you much of a return, but the longer investments give you much better, let's say, returns down the road. So Lendermarket has moved towards a more grown-up phase where we have longer investments now. We still have the lower ones, the 30-day loans, but we're also offering up to, I think, 3 years. So we have a full array of different loan maturities that you can invest on.
And that's mainly to consumers, right?
Yes. So you mean consumers?
At the end of the lending chain. So you're not originating the loans yourself, you're a marketplace, and you basically have different lending companies then basically on your platform. Is that right?
Exactly. And this is a very important distinction with other platforms, because here, as we, let's say, post different loans from different companies, what we do is that we give this buyback guarantee that basically when you're investing, you're not investing in the asset alone, you're investing with a guarantee of that company that is offering that loans. So you have a guarantee that the company will cover in case that loan goes bad. By that, I mean that your investment, you will always get it back in the next 60 days. So that's our limit when the maturity hits. If the loan is not paid back by that specific individual, you will get still the money back paid by the company in 60 days. And that's, I think, a quite interesting, let's say, format for investments. And so far, we have not gotten any default in our platform through this system, as the companies always respond for the investments.
Yeah, so that's also is very important for investors in that sense that you have to keep an eye on also the loan originator originating the loan, because of course their solvency is a huge important factor to be able to execute that buyback of the loan.
Exactly. And you can check this by, we try to update our risk scores in the platform. We try to give the latest annual reports so you can see how the companies are, as that would be one of the things I would check when investing in P2P, check the company that is originating those loans, as it's going to give you a good temperature of where they are at.
Yes. To give a rough sense on what kind of return level are we speaking about?
That's also changing fast. As you can see, let's say the European way of lending and how the interest rates are moving, we are also affected by that. So the cheaper the money gets, the cheaper we need to kind of offer it also. But at the moment in the platform, our minimum is 9% for very short-term loans, up to, I think it's 14 at the moment. So depending on the length, depending on the loan originator, you're going to move between those two ranges.
Yeah. So it's not kind of a risk-free savings account type of return. So you're getting in some risk, of course, as you do consumer lending or lending to those loan originators, and therefore we already mentioned it. That risk management, the risk score that you mentioned, is of course quite an interesting factor, and that would be my next question. Like, how in general do you do the risk management on your platform? How do you do, for example, due diligence on those loan originators and structure the risk in general?
Well, this is it's a tough. I would say it's quite tough actually to get on the platform, and that's something that we take really serious because as a marketplace, if you would onboard a lot of, let's say, risky loan originators that would put you in a situation where you will have a lot of defaults, your name also goes attached to those defaults. So as I said before, we have 0% default, but also we are very specific on how we do our risk analysis, how we do our onboarding. We check a lot the financials of these companies. We check what are their forecasts, what can we expect from them. We check also management, who's behind those companies, etc., etc. So the risk analysis is quite exhaustive. And also, as I said before, we have these risk scorings in our website that we try to do every quarter or every half a year. We try to, let's say, understand what's the current position of that company.
Yeah, that's a very good and important indication. Of course, you would still, even though if a company passes all of these tests, it's, or at least I would highly recommend for investors to diversify among different kinds of loans, different kinds of originators. You're offering a bunch of countries, even some countries that are not that often in the lending space, like Denmark or so. There aren't, I guess, a lot of other platforms offering something for Denmark. Maybe just a short overview. What kind of countries are these loans coming from?
Yeah, we have a lot of different countries, as far as even Colombia. So yeah, we're trying to. The idea behind Lendermarket was that it's a platform where you can choose different geographies that you have interest in and access it through these P2P lending investments. So we have Denmark, we have Finland, Sweden, Estonia, we have also Spain, what else? As I said, Colombia, like a lot of the European markets are covered, and from outside of the European market, we're also trying to get to places. But as I said, the risk is very important, so we need to understand. For example, we have also Mexico that now we stopped cooperation. That's regarding not for risk, but for other topics. But we try to always have more of a open version or open geography for the investors, but always keeping them safe in a way. That's our goal in Lendermarket. Always in investments, you can, let's say, do some kind of gamification of the investments at the same time keeping them safe.
Yeah. And yeah, in terms of diversification, there's not only countries, but as I mentioned, also loan originators. But there's one originator on your platform that I guess is kind of the most important for you, if you want to say so, and that is Credit Star. And there are, I guess, also some kind of linkages between them and your company, or have been in the past. So maybe could you elaborate a little bit on the connection to Credit Star? Who is Credit Star as a loan originator, and how do you work with them together?
Yeah, so Credit Star is the, let's call it the company that created Lendermarket. And that was because back in the day, just before COVID hit, there was a need for funding. And they said, okay, let's create a way that investors can invest on us without having to issue or wait for the bond issuance. So, and also, you have to just think how comfortable is our kind of platforms for different loan originators, because they can just post the loans that they need to fulfill. And if they don't need to fulfill, they just close the tab and they don't need to, let's say, pay more interest on unutilized capital. So for companies like Credit Star, this was the way to go. The platform started growing. It went very, very successful. Credit Star has been in the market, I think, like 25 years or something like this. It's a very old company that it's one of the top companies in Estonia. And also the European level, as you mentioned before, it covers a lot of these other countries, like all Scandinavia, Denmark, and so on. So Credit Star basically just opened Lendermarket, and due to the success of it, there was a decision from the owners to, why don't we open like Lendermarket to other loan originators? And as it's called Lendermarket, the idea behind it was already from the start to be a market for this kind of products. Right now, yes, Credit Star is quite prominent in the platform, but at the same time, I can already advance you that we are trying to include as many loan originators as we can to create this diversification that you were talking about before also. So slowly, we want to have more of different products in the platform so investors can diversify at a bigger level.
Yes. Yeah, then there's another interesting point that is also handled very differently among platforms or other players, etc. And that is like what the structure of the individual investment look like, and the overall regulatory situation the platform is working on. For example, you are from a company perspective headquartered or legally set up in Ireland. And you're also regulated there, but not for the whole part of the business. So maybe could you shine some light on the investment structure and the regulatory environment?
Yes, so we are a regulated crowdfunding company. So we hold the ECSPR regulation. That was done in Ireland. It's one of the toughest licenses to get in Europe. There are other ones in the Baltics. It's very famous to get them in the Baltics. In Estonia itself, for example, where the owners are from. But we still chose to get the Irish one. That was focused towards trust. So I think that one of the biggest issues that our platforms have, or the whole industry have, is a trust. It's a trust, let's say, level. No, so having a license, what we wanted to do is we want to prove that we are a company that can be regulated by a strong regulator, and that can give peace of mind for our investors. With that, it gives a lot of hurdles in our platforms, because we have a lot of we are not new companies. We have been working for 6 years, 7 years, and we already had a lot of loans ongoing in our platform. So what that means is that when you regulate um, as an active company, you will have a structure of regulated and unregulated loans in your company. Some of the old loans will still be unregulated, and some of the new loans will be regulated. Also, some of the loan originators that you have in it, they need to go through the process of the regulator. By that, I mean that they need to update some contracts, they need to add some different paperwork, new barriers, etc. So our platform, if you check now, you will see that you're always prompt, do you want to invest in regulated or non-regulated loans? At the end of the day, the risk is the same. The risk of the loan is the same. You are not covered more into a regulated loan than a non-regulated loan. And that's something that investors sometimes find difficult to understand. What the regulator does is like it puts like a stronger layer on all the different, as I said, contractual, let's say, obligations that we have, and also it limits how much money goes to the loan originators, and it checks a lot the financials. Also, it makes sure that our marketing is not in the wrongdoings, etc., etc. So the regulation does not should not be something that impedes investor to put the money in one place or another. It's more to show that we are actually compliant with everything that we do, that we are transparent, and that we can be trusted. So that's the regulation behind it. Most of the platforms that you will find, they are not regulated, but we still chose to call ourselves a crowdfunding platform and to go through the regulation.
Yeah. And it's very interesting, as you said, like you have the same loan originator working both on the regulated side and the unregulated side for the offering on your platform. You have one SPV or so, however you want to call it, a vehicle called GateLink, I believe, that you use for some kind of these regulated part of transaction. Maybe could you explain there a bit the structure?
Yeah, there is. I've seen in a lot of Telegram groups. I invite you to join. They talk about Lendermarket and so on, but sometimes they're a bit wrong in some of the assumptions there. The gate link, as you mentioned, is basically a vehicle that allows Credistar to be posting in our platform as a regulated player and also without any kind of conflict of interest. So we have a mediator in between us that ensures that there is no wrongdoings, that there is no, as I said, conflicts of interest between Lendermarket and Credistar, which is actually the one that is like participating through this gate link. As you said, some loan originators will be still providing unregulated services because we are ramping down on those services. So the regulation allows you to ramp down, and there is a plan on it to jump into full-on regulated services, which is the final goal, and hopefully we can get there very, very soon. But in the meantime, we still will have some unregulated loans. As I said, they do not include any higher risk or anything. It's just more of a, how to say, paperwork, if you want to call it like this, or how we can adapt all these loan originators in a way that are fulfilling all the regulation needs. Mainly, as I said, you will see some documentation that it's different, but at the end of the day, the risk is the same on the end product.
Yeah, and it's of course now especially very important how the structure and the overall regulation look like. There have been some shakes in the P2P industry. I guess it's not really directly impacting you, especially because you are on very solid grounds with the regulatory environment and the structure you have set up. Nonetheless, there is a platform that had a whole kind of different structure. So that's very important to mention. It was really a different structure that was then come under scrutiny by the German financial regulator. I guess you feel fairly comfortable that with your regulatory setup and the structure, this is not going to have a regulatory impact on you.
Yeah, no, I'm quite calm on this, especially at the regulation point. We are taking things very serious. We're in communication with the central bank very often. We are, of course, you have like sometimes they reach out and they ask you about some marketing material that you have sent out, and you have to maybe polish some disclaimers, things like this. But at a regulatory level, we are very relaxed because we want to be compliant, and we understand how important is for the investor to have this trust on us. As I said, the biggest challenge for P2P platforms or P2P lending platforms and investments and so on, it's regarding the trust that you can show towards the investor, and that's what regulation is it's providing you also.
Yeah. Yeah, how do you see in general the P2P market with its current challenges and also the future of Lendermarket, especially with, on one hand, Credit Star being a supportive shareholder, but also wanting the platform to diversify into more lenders, while Credit Star itself also is kind of developing their own kind of competitional products with like different structures, but still like we already had the guys of Monofit Smart Saver here on the podcast. Very different kind of product also, but it's still sponsored also by Credit Star. How do you see that? How do you see differentiation and in general the market and the place you want to take in that market?
Yeah, so I think that the market, I would say we will see a lot of growth in there. I feel that the private investor wants to try more of these, let's call it alternative investments. We all know how expensive at the moment the stock market is and the different ETFs, how there is all this volatility, how there is like uncertainty. People are talking about cash is king. We all follow big investors, how they are removing and keeping some cash on the side, etc. So in this let's say scenario, I feel that our platforms are very, very, very interesting for the investors, especially when we can provide immediate liquidity. So I think that the platforms, including us, we are forced, and you spoke also about Smart Saver. You can see all these platforms generating products that can give immediate liquidity for the investor. And I think that's the new way of our platforms is like, it's let's call it a product that it's set and forget. At the same time, if I need the money, I want it now. So we are also in Lendermarket, as I spoke to you, we are trying to cover the longer term of loans because they give more security. Actually, they are better. If you think about the loan, if I give you money and I ask for this loan in the next 20 days, your situation is quite similar to what it was 20 days ago. So it's hard for you to return. But if I give you a longer term, you will most likely be in a safer space to return that money. So loans that have a longer period are safer. That's for sure. At the same time, we have an investor that wants immediate liquidity. So how do we make a product that it's longer term at the same time has liquidity? And now we just launched actually in our platform. It's very, very new. It's a bit hidden because we are still polishing, but I invite you to go and check. It's something called Lendermarket Flex. And that basically gives you the opportunity to invest in loans. At the same time, if you want to go out to exit the investment, you can just click exit and you can exit it. And that works as a secondary market kind of style. So the crowdfunding regulation is very clear with this. We cannot intervene into the selling and buying of the different loans. At the same time, we can provide what it's called a bulletin board or a secondary market. And that's our goal at the moment. We are adding a secondary market or similar to those effects where you can exit your investments whenever you want. So I feel that the industry is going towards towards more liquidity. The interest rates is going to be lower. Every day we can see lower and lower interest rates. At the same time, the trust is growing. And I feel that all these big banks, let's say Revolut and so on, they are teaching the investor or the, let's say, private individuals that fintech companies are not that bad, that can be trusted, and there is a structure behind it that can give you good returns. So I'm quite positive. I feel we're going to see a lot. And actually, Lendermarket has big plans that I cannot really reveal now, but for the next year, we have very, 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 let's say, we're looking to make something big in Lendermarket because we want to, again, be on the top of the lending space, be on the top of the providing the best returns on the investments. And that's what we're going to do in 2027.
Beautiful summary. Yeah. And if you want to be part of that, what is the minimum investment on how you can invest on Lendermarket?
There is no, I think it's like 50 euros or something like this. There is no, we don't want to put minimums. Actually, we try to let people just try us, see how it goes, and then if you feel comfortable, put more. But there is no minimum.
Yeah. So you can try it out with a smaller sum and get the trust, and then increase as you like. Link, of course, is in the description, also and under investor-stories.de/Lendermarket. Yeah, I think we went through a bunch of topics. Was a great overview. Anything important that we missed, or that you certainly still want to mention and talk about?
No, I think it's we spoke about a lot of different topics. Just to mention, as you are German, our biggest market is actually Germany. So we have a lot of different investors from Germany, and we're trying to be very active in different conferences and events in Germany, like the Invest in Stuttgart. So I invite any of your listeners that are around to come and say hi. I'm always attending there, and I would be willing to know or answer any of the questions that they might have.
Amazing. Thanks a lot for your time, and have a good day.
You too. Thank you, Tim.
Cheers. Das war's auch schon wieder mit dieser Podcast-Folge. Ich danke dir ganz herzlich fürs Zuhören. Wenn dir der Podcast gefallen hat, würde ich mich sehr freuen, wenn du ihn mit einer Bewertung auf iTunes unterstützt. Außerdem möchte ich dich gerne dazu einladen, der Investor Stories Community auf Facebook beizutreten. Hier hast du einen Austausch mit Gleichgesinnten und professionellen Investoren, die selber ihren Weg in die Freiheit der Finanzen gegangen sind, und von ihnen kannst du lernen oder auch selber andere Leute bereichern, und zudem ist dort Feedback zum Podcast immer willkommen. Um ganz schnell dorthin zu gelangen, kannst du auch einfach investor-stories.de/community eingeben. Ich freue mich, wenn du auch beim nächsten Mal wieder dabei bist. In diesem Sinne, alles Gute, dein Tim.